Welcome fans, this is the first devlog of my game. It doesn't really have a name yet. Maybe something to do with guns and skeletons maybe? Like perhaps gun and skeletons? Oh, that's stupid. If you have a better idea, let me know in the comments. If someone actually watches this video, of course. What is this game, you may ask yourself? Well, it is or will be a top-down shooter with a kind of metroidvania world. I'm not really sure yet how the world will be designed. It takes inspiration from Enter the Gungeon, of course, Hollow Knight and so on, the typical ones. The last 2 or 3 months I worked slowly to bring the game to a point where I think it is somewhat ready to be seen by the public. You know, I would have loved dearly to show it at this year's E3, but I have a doctor's appointment at that time, so yeah, that's the only reason I don't go to E3 this year. Now I'm going through these last few months and explain what I worked on and what I struggled with. At first, drawing the main character. I wasn't really sure what I wanted my main character to look like. In my mind I had the idea of a pretty generic human character, but somehow I ended up with this kind of sad looking skeleton named Skelly. But don't worry, I guarantee you he's happy, right? Stop fooling around. I also made some running, rolling animation for him. Wow, look at him go. Next off was the choice of the game engine, and I just knew I had to use Godot. It is open source, it has really good tools to make a great UI, it has dark mode, it's blue, it is a cool character. I'm not gonna go through the benefits of Godot. That was already done by 1,000 other channels. And just watch one of these videos. They will explain it way better than my dumbass ever could. First, I implemented the movement for Skelly. For that I used, like probably so many people that start with Godot, the tutorials from Heartbeast. And honestly, they're just amazing. I can see why so many people use his tutorials to learn Godot. So please check his channel out. Alright, with this code, Skelly has now smooth and responsive movement. And of course, without weapons it wouldn't really be a top-down shooter. So I created this big-ass rifle. Continuing the tradition of copying smarter people's code, I got, let's say, inspired by this video on how to implement shooting. The concept of this method of implementing shooting is simple but smart. You don't apply forces to the bullet so it moves. Instead you spawn the bullet in front of the gun and giving it a rotation, direction and speed determined by the gun. The bullet travels now in a straight line on its own. Perhaps that's a normal way of doing it and I just never heard of it before, but this is just really simple and easy to use. At the moment Skelly can only hold one gun. We need to change that. There are many ways of doing a simple inventory system. Probably the easiest one is declaring an array with the weapons you want, and when you scroll down or up, the previous or next weapon in the array is equipped. This is only a temporary solution of course, and in the future we'll have to overhaul it completely probably. Since Skelly now has room for more weapons, it is probably a good idea to actually create more weapons. And I did just that with these 3. First off, an AK. Then a red handgun, and last but not least a shotgun. To be honest, I think they are pretty generic. However, I already have some ideas for more fun weapons, like this dice gun that randomly shoots one of 6 different bullets, each representing a number on a dice. The fun part is that the bullet with the number 1 does nearly no damage and is significantly slower than the bullet with the number 6. So this weapon is purely luck based, which can be quite frustrating and unfair. Well, actually it's fair, it's completely random. But I think it's cool, so it stays in the game. At this point during the development I experimented with generating random NPCs. I don't know why I did it, at that point it was way too early for stuff like that. But it was just too much fun spawning like 1,000 of these poor souls and seeing them become a massive flash. Wanting to experiment with these NPCs a bit further, I even added a simple AI. Not really, so that they could shoot and follow the player. Since I already spent way too long talking about random stuff, I will speed up the showcase, otherwise the video will be 30 minutes long. Okay, let's go. I began drawing a small village and adding a simple UI that displays the current weapon the player is holding, plus the ammo count. I drew my first real enemy, this guy. Added AI, which is really hard to do. I spent way too long on the AI stuff. Why did nobody warn me that gamedev would be hard? Well, you better buy this fucking game or I'm gonna be seriously peeped off. Moving on. The village I showed you earlier? It's gone. Replaced by this dungeon. Let's place spooky lights in there. Let's place the enemy from earlier in there. Let's make his ice screens. Let's calm down and enjoy the small things. Like the fact I added blood. Somehow I felt like the fast shooting doesn't fit the AK right. So naturally I made a minigun. Finally, the last thing I added is dropping and picking up weapons. And I don't know if you ever implemented something like this, but it's way harder than I expected and please help me. But at last it worked. So yeah, that's what I did so far. This video isn't really a devlog, more of an overview of what I worked on until now. Next video will probably be the first real devlog and will come out soon. So if you wanna see what I will work on in the future, consider subscribing and perhaps even leaving a like. Okay, see ya!